Hello and welcome to chapter number 10 of the GST ICAI study material for intermediate course. Chapter 10 deals with returns. Whenever the term or the abbreviation ITC is used in this chapter, you should understand it as input tax credit. Okay. What are the learning objectives of this chapter? After completing this chapter, you will be able to understand and analyze various types of statements and returns that are required to be filed by a registered taxpayer. You will be able to identify the persons eligible to file various statements or returns and also the forms which are prescribed thereunder, and also you will be able to understand the periodicity for filing such returns or forms. You will be able to understand and determine what is the late fee which is required to be paid for a delay in filing the return forms. Also, you will apply these concepts for problem solutions or solving, and we will also understand the provisions relating to the GST practitioner. Now, the chapter overview is the returns, furnishing of details of outward supplies. Furnishing of details of outward supplies will be in form number GSTR1. Then furnishing returns under section 39. This is 3B simplified form 4 and 5. And there are other returns like first return, annual return 9, final return 10 and GSTR 11. Also, we will able to understand what will be the notices for default or delay in filing the return, notice to defaulters and late fees, and also the provisions relating to tax practitioners under GST. What do you generally mean by return? Return is nothing but a statement of information. Who will furnish that? Taxpayer will furnish. To whom they will furnish? To the tax administrators. Within what periodicity? At a prescribed regular intervals. It can be monthly, it can be half yearly, it can be quarterly, it can be annually. So the periodicity will depend, right? What will be the information which you will provide in that form generally or in that return generally? Generally, the information pertains to the nature of activities or business operations, which will be the subject matter of that taxation. The measure of a tax, like a sale price, turnover, value. What are the deductions claimed? What are the exemptions claimed? And what is the tax liability and how it is discharged? Everything will be for a given tax period. So what you have to understand is a written form is a statement of information. Taxpayer will furnish to the tax administrator at regular intervals of time. This written form contains the nature of business that has been carried out, or the activities or operations that have been carried out, the measure of taxation like sale price, turnover, value, deductions, exemptions, etc. What is the tax determined and how it is discharged. These are all the contents of a written form. Apart from this, you will have certain other information also, but mainly this information will be comprised in the written form. Now, filing of returns is a very important compliance procedure. Now, the filing of returns will enable the tax administration to estimate the tax collection for a particular period, and also it will enable the tax administration to examine whether correct tax has been paid by the taxpayer or not. Now, what are the purposes for which returns are to be filed? It will be a mode of giving information to the tax administration. It is a mode of giving information to the tax administration. Tax administration will be able to examine whether the law has been complied by the taxpayer. Also, the tax liabilities will be finalized within a stipulated time period, and the tax returns will act as a input or source of information for taking policy decisions. Management of audit and anti-evasion programs by the tax administrations. So the returns filed will be helpful in these items, right? So the filing of GST returns will help determination of a tax liability of the taxpayer, and also it will have a bearing on determination of tax liability of other person with whom this taxpayer entered into taxable activity. Now a let us say A sold goods or supplied goods to B worth of 10 lakhs. Now this fellow A has recorded this information in GSTR1 and discharged the liability through GSTR3B, right? So the government has an information that A had a business dealing with B for rupees 10 lakhs. Now this has been already recorded in the GST return 1 filed by A, and the tax is paid through GSTR 3B. Now this information which is given by A will be helpful to examine whether B has also complied with the provisions of the law or not. B is also a registered person. Now, with the information provided by A, what the government or the tax administration will be able to determine or check is whether this B has disclosed the purchases to the extent of 10 lakhs, also whether the corresponding sales have been made or not. So, with the volume of procurement by B will be determined from the returns filed by the suppliers who supplied to B. So that is a crucial point in filing of returns. Now generally the return forms are to be filed in a specific form, means in the prescribed form. It is a statutory format. Now how these statutory formats will be designed? It will be designed in such a manner that all the provisions of law which have a bearing on the computation of a tax have been taken into account. If you examine the various fields and information that is to be given in the written form with the corresponding law, then you will be able to understand in a better manner. So, you take a written form GSTR1, you take the corresponding provisions in the GST law, then you compare both of them, then you will have an understanding. Now, under the GST law, or for that matter under any law, the correct filing of returns and the timely filing of returns is very important, because the return form will have a format or a form containing various information. That information has to be provided by the taxpayer in the correct manner. Correct information is to be given. Also, timely filing is also very important. The returns will have a due date. So, the taxpayer has to ensure that he furnishes the return within the prescribed time limit. Now, this is important. Why? Because the taxpayer has to estimate his liability on a self-assessment basis and pay the tax along with the filing of the return. So before you finally furnish or upload the return in the common portal, You have to ensure that the details which have been filled are correct and the tax liability is determined and is discharged before the upload of return takes place. So, this return form is a sort of a supporting document for the tax authorities who can rely and on the basis of which the tax has been computed by the taxpayer. So, the contents of the return form suggests the manner of computation of tax by the taxpayer. Okay. Also, the return filing not only determines the taxability of the person filing the return, but also it will be useful in determining the tax payable by the other person with whom this taxpayer has entered into taxable activities. So the returns furnishing, let us say A is a taxable person or a registered person. A files GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. Now this filing of returns of GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B not only serves the purpose of examining whether A has discharged his liability properly, not only that, A has dealt with some 10 persons. Now, these written forms filed by A will also be helpful to some extent in determining the tax compliance of these 10 persons with whom A has dealt with. Now, sorry. So, the provisions of the GST law, which will deal with the filing of returns, are provided in section 37 to section 48 of the law. 37 deals with furnishing details of outward supplies, 38 with the inward supplies, and 39 with the returns. Then 40 is the first return, 41 is ITC claim and provisional acceptance, 42 is matching reversal reclaim of input credit, and 43 is matching reversal reclaim of output liability. 44 is annual return and 45 is final return. This will be in form 10. 46 is notice to return defaulters. 47 is late fees and 48 deals with GST practitioners. And also the corresponding rules are given in rule number 59 to rule number 84 of the CGST laws. The provisions relating to returns, late fees, etc. under the CGST Act have also been made applicable to IGST Act, wide section 20 of the IGST Act. So again, these provisions are not included in the IGST Act, but section 20 states that whatever provisions relating to returns, late fees as applicable in the CGST Act will equally be applicable to the IGST Act. That's what has been provided in section 20 of the IGST Act. Moving forward, actually the return filing process is indicated or provided in the law in one basis or procedure. But however, in the initial days of implementation of GST, the return filing process is not enabled as envisaged in the law. In order to remove difficulties and undue hardships at the time of implementation and at the initial days of the GST regime, what the government has done is, by notifications, they have prescribed some simplified form of procedures. Now, whatever return filing procedure is being currently followed even on this date being September 30th of 2020, but still we are not following the actual return filing processes which has been provided for or envisaged in the law and rules made thereunder, but by way of notifications we have some simplified processes, and still in the current on the current date also we are following those simplified processes. Okay. Now a simplified monthly return in GSTR 3B was introduced. Now, so GSTR 1 is there. GSTR 1 we are doing, but instead of 2 and 3, it has been replaced by GSTR 3B. So, still this 2 and 3 is not enabled. Okay. Also, generally these returns have to be furnished monthly. But for easing the compliance, the GST Council has allowed the taxpayers with annual turnover up to 1.5 crores to file GSTR 1 on a quarterly basis and on a monthly basis by taxpayers with annual turnover greater than 1.5 crores. So GSTR 1 compliance you have for taxpayers whose turnover is up to 1.5 crores have the option to file the GSTR 1 quarterly. But as far as taxpayers whose turnover exceeds 1.5 crores means in the preceding financial year, right? Or in the current financial year, if they are of the view that their turnover is going to exceed 1.5 crores, they have to submit GSTR 1 monthly. So, and now the GSTR 2 relating to inward supplies and GSTR 3 monthly returns for normal taxpayers, this is not yet enabled. This has been postponed. Actually, the GSTR 3B provisions were extended till initially there was for it was mentioned that it is for 3 months or 6 months or something like that, but it got extended until September 2019. But still this GSTR 3B is applicable even on this date being September 2020 also. Even on this current date also this 3B is applicable and 2 and 3 are not yet enabled. Now here CBSE has taken a decision in its 28th meeting and held on 21st July 2018 with regard to return simplification processes. The salient features have been given. My dear friends, this simplification of return process was never brought into force. This simplified process of return filing was never brought into force. So I don't think this is at all applicable, and we need to study this because this simplification process did not or was not put in force even on this date. So I think we don't need to go through these provisions. So what it has been given is the new simplified return process as envisaged above has not become effective. Therefore, in this chapter only those provisions which are currently effective have been discussed. Even this date 30th of September 2020, these provisions are not made effective. Okay. Now, then why did the study material give the details with the relating to the press release? Because solely for the objective of familiarizing the students with the proposed processes. But the date given there was the date of printing of the study material. My dear friends, this is 30th September 2020. Even on this date, this simplified procedure was not yet made effective. Now, all the returns under the GST law are to be filed electronically. The taxpayers can file the statements and returns by various modes. Okay. Now, first of all, they can file their statements and returns directly on the GST Common Portal online. Now, this may prove to be time consuming and tedious for taxpayers with a large number of invoices. Now, for those people, what you can do, you directly open gst.gov.in, enter into, log into your account. There you start filling up the invoices. My dear friends, if you are having a few invoices per period of return, then it is okay for you to manually type those details. But friends, in businesses, you may have some hundreds and thousands of invoices per month. Now, in such a case, is it possible for you to fill up all the details sitting online? No, it is very difficult. So, offline utilities have been developed and provided by the GSTN. Now, these offline utilities can be utilized for the purposes of preparation of these periodical returns. Also, there are GST Suvidha providers who will prepare the software and they will integrate the software with the common portal. Let us say you have a Tally, right, or you have SAP. So in that Tally or SAP itself, what they will do is because you have entered the transactions in your Tally, you have entered all the invoices in your Tally. Now the information is already lying in your Tally, but they have to be uploaded to the GST portal. The format of the return is different. Now what the Tally can do is they can set up a utility wherein the Tally will be able to extract the data in the manner which the common portal accepts. So directly from Tally, what you can do, you can prepare the return form and then upload it in the common portal, which will save time. Just I will show you an example. Hmm. Let me open Tally. Why is it taking so much time? Maybe we do not have a license in this. So let's go into the educational mode. Select the company. OneDrive Tally data. Go to end. Let's take 1920. Now let's take this transaction. Now if you go to display, statutory, GST, now monthly GSTR 3B. This is February month. What you can do is, here directly you have an option export return. So you can export the return in JSON file. JSON file is a data interchange format. Now this file will be accepted by the GST Common Portal. You can generate already the information or the data has been populated or entered into Tally for the month of February 2020. So directly from the information which has been the transactions which have been recorded in the Tally, from those transactions a JSON file is a format which will be accepted by the common portal, and this GSTR 3B return data, this JSON file which is generated from Tally, you will be can upload it in the common portal and file the return. So this is how you can do. Okay, so there are many modes. One is you can directly log into your common portal. There you can populate the entries, or this GST Suvidha providers what they will give you, or the GST portal itself gives you offline tools. Through that you can do, or the GST Suvidha providers, they will integrate with the common portal. Through that also you can do. It is at your convenience. Now, what are all the details that have been furnished by the taxpayers in the written forms will be consolidated and will be stored in the common portal. Now, the information which has been stored in the common portal can be accessed both by the central governments as well as the state governments. Okay. Now, coming to relevant definitions. Friends, these definitions which have been given here are appropriate to this chapter. But friends, these terms we may come across even in our preceding chapters also. So some of these definitions we have already defined in our previous chapters, right? So we will skip those which have already been dealt by us, and we will examine or learn what are all the definitions which we have never learned in our preceding chapters. Casual taxable person already defined. Common portal we defined. Credit note, debit note defined. Cash ledger defined. Credit ledger defined. Exempted supply defined. Because all these definitions we have learned in our previous chapters itself. So it is duplication is not necessary in my view. If you want to again learn this definition, you may learn at the relevant places in our previous sessions. Now this goods and service tax practitioner, what is this fellow? This we have to learn. Means any person who has been approved under section 48 to act as such practitioner. Okay. Then what do you mean by invoice or tax invoice? We already learned. Inward supply we know. Tax invoice we know. Invoice we know. Inward supply, non-resident taxable person also we know. Outward supply we know. Prescribed we know. Proper officer. I think proper officer also we defined somewhere, but still we will do one thing. We will go through it. Proper officer in relation to any function to be performed under this act means the commissioner or the officer of the central tax who is assigned that function by the commissioner in the board. So proper officer means why proper officer is required to perform any function under this act. So who is that fellow? Commissioner or officer of the central tax who is assigned that function by the commissioner in the board. Quarter we already defined. Recipient many number of times we came across. Registered person we know. Okay. Whom do you mean by registered person? Who is registered under section 25 but will not include a unique identification number person. Return, we know this. Okay, we'll do the we will study this. Return means any return prescribed or otherwise required to be furnished by or under this act or rules made thereunder. Return means any return which is prescribed or otherwise required to be furnished under this act or rules made thereunder. Reverse charge, you already know. We have already defined many times. Supplier, we define. What do you mean by tax period? We will examine this. Tax period means the period for which the return is required to be furnished. Tax period means the period for which the return is to be furnished. Now, taxable person, we already know. Who is registered or liable to be registered? We already know this. Then whom do you mean by registered person? Registered under 25. Taxable person means who is liable to be who is registered or liable to be registered. Okay. Next, taxable supply we know. Valid return. This. What do you mean by valid return? Return furnished under section 39 subsection 1 on which self-assessed tax has been paid in full. So what do you mean by valid return? Valid return means return furnished under section 39 subsection 1. Okay. When this return furnished under 39(1) will become valid, only when the self-assessed tax has been paid in full, then only it will become valid. Okay. We will move on to paragraph 3, which deals with the details of outward supplies. Where are these provisions given? These provisions are being provided in section 37 and rule number 59. Who is the person who is required to furnish the details of outward supplies? This is in form number GSTR1. The form number is GSTR1. Who is required? The details of outward supplies are to be furnished by every registered person, including casual registered person. We already know whom do you mean by casual taxable person. Except ISD fellow, non-resident fellow, composition fellow, TDS fellow, e-commerce fellow, ODR fellow. Except these people, the others have to file return of outward supplies. My dear friends, for ISD, TDS, e-commerce, ODR, there will be separate returns. But you don't have this outward supply return GSTR1. They need not file this one. Oh, here GSTR1 has been given form number. So these people need not furnish the GSTR1. They will have separate returns. They have to file those returns. Okay, so the input service distributor, TDS, TCS fellow, ODR fellow, what they have to do? They have to file a separate returns, and the details regarding these persons will be dealt with at your final level. So this has been pictorially given. All registered persons, including casual persons, have to file one, but these are the exceptions. IST, non-resident, composition, TDS, TCS and ODR. These people need not file GSTR1. So what is the prescribed form for filing the outward supplies? It is GSTR1. What is the due date within which, because the written form will have a prescribed format and the contents of those format have to be filled correctly, it has to be furnished within time, it is also important. So the form is GSTR1 for outward supplies, and within what time it has to be furnished? It has to be furnished on or before 10th of the day of immediately succeeding month. So for October or for September 2020 GSTR1, within what time you can file? 10th of October 2020 you have to file. Okay, but you can't file between 11 to 15th of October. This is not possible. My dear friends, filling of the details of GSTR1 is different. Furnishing the return of GSTR1 is different. Both are different. Sorry. Both are different. No, okay, nothing has happened to this one, no problem. Filling of the return is different. Filling of the return can be made at any time. But furnishing can be made only from the 1st of next month up to 10th, or may except or afterwards from 1st of next month onwards at any time you can do, but from 11th to 15th you can't do that. Okay. Here an example has been given. The October return can be filed within 10th of November. That is the due date. Now what will happen if the 10th you have spilled over 10th of November, or you could not meet up the due date 10th of November. From 11th to 15th, you will not be able to file the return, but after 15th, you will be able to file the return of income, but late fees will be levied. Now, some relaxations have been given for small taxpayers. For them, GSTR1 can be filed quarterly. Whom? Those having aggregate turnover up to annual turnover up to 1.5 crores in the preceding financial year or in the current financial year. In the current financial year also up to 1.5 crore you can file quarterly. But once you have crossed the limit, you have to go for monthly. Okay. The facility to file quarterly return is given up to September 2019. Now it is further extended. Even in September 2020, this is possible. And taxpayer with annual aggregate turnover above 1.5, however, will have to file GSTR1 on monthly basis. Okay. Now, the due date for GSTR1 may be extended by the Commissioner or Commissioner of State GST or by Commissioner of UT GST for a class of taxable persons by way of notification. So, in order to remove undue hardships, relaxations in filing the GSTR1 may be given. Okay. Now, some points you have to keep in mind is GSTR1 can't be filed before the end of the current tax period. Let us say it is a September 2020 return. You will be able to fill the details from September 1 to September 30. You will be able to enter the details, but you can't furnish it. You can't furnish GSTR1. GSTR1 can be furnished only from 1/10/2020. What is the due date? 10/10/2020. But between 11/10 to 15/10 you can't file. But from 16/10 you can file. But late fees will be levied. Now, if a casual taxable person is closing his business, then before 30th also, on or before 30th also, he can file GSTR1 for September 20. Or the person has cancelled the registration on 15th September. He filed an application, okay, on 15th September and he got the acknowledgement also. Then he can file, he will be allowed to file GSTR1 of September 2020 from 16th September itself. What are the contents of GSTR1? GSTR1 will have some basic and other details and details of outward supplies. What are the basic details which have to be given, or basic and other details which have to be given? GST number, legal name, trade name, aggregate name of the in aggregate turnover in the previous year, what is the tax period. Now these are basic details. These are basic details. What are the other details? HNY summary of outward supplies, details of documents issued, advances received, advances adjusted. Okay. What are the details of outward supplies to be given? B2C means B2B, business to business. B2C, business to customer. B2B is wholesale. B2C is retail. Zero rated deemed exports, debit note, credit note, nil rated exempted non-GST, amendments for prior periods. These are the contents of GST. You can do one thing, my dear friends. You can search on Google for GSTR1. You will get the format. Just go through that format. It will be helpful for you. Okay. My dear friends, GST is a destination based consumption tax, we already know. Okay, so what do you mean by destination based consumption tax? We already understood in our previous chapters. Now here, since this is a destination based tax, the revenue is to be transferred to the state which is the place of supply for each and every transaction. So place of supply is very much important. Therefore, GSTR1 captures the details with regard to the place of supply. Place of supply is very important in GST because it is a destination based tax. The revenue has to go to that state where the ultimate consumption has taken place. That is, the consumption takes place at the place of supply. Therefore, GSTR1 captures the place of supply. Now, what details of outward supplies are to be populated in GSTR1? Now, every registered person has to furnish details of invoices, revised invoices, issued in relation to supplies made by him to registered persons as well as unregistered person during a month, as well as debit note information, credit note information have to be given in GSTR1. So invoice wise details are also to be provided, both made to unregistered as well as registered persons. This has to be given for the tax period. Also, the details of debit notes and credit notes should also be furnished. Now, for some items, you have to give invoice level reporting. For some items, you can issue consolidated basis. For debit notes and credit notes also, issued during that month, for invoices which were already issued previously, you have to give the details. Okay. Now previously invoices, debit note or credit note are to be issued in relation to or with reference to an invoice. But now a consolidated debit note or credit note can also be issued. The provisions have been enabled. Now, what are the invoice-wise details you have to give? Interstate supplies, intrastate supplies made to registered persons. If you are supplying to registered persons, you have to give invoice-wise details because that fellow will take input. Okay. Now, for interstate supplies made to unregistered persons, if the invoice value exceeds 2,50,000, then also you have to give the invoice-wise details. Consolidated basis, intrastate to unregistered persons. Interstate supplies to unregistered persons with invoice value of 250 up to 250 for each rate of tax separately for each state. So here, if the invoice value exceeds 2,50,000 in respect of interstate supply, invoice level details are to be given. If it is up to 2.5 lakhs, consolidated details are enough. Okay. Now, next, uploading of invoice depends on whether it is made to B2C or B2B. If it is B2B, invoice level you have to given. You have to give because that recipient will claim input credit. If it happens to B2C, then what you have to do, summary you can give. But for interstate, greater than or equal to or greater than 2.5 lakh, then invoice level information is to be given. Invoice level information has to be given. What do you mean by B2B and what do you mean by B2C? Friends, as discussed, B2B means business to business transaction. Here, the supplier as well as the recipient both are registered persons. What do you mean by B2C? The supplier is a registered person, the recipient is an unregistered person. Generally, unregistered persons are not eligible to take input tax credit. Therefore, invoice level reporting is not necessary in respect of B2C. However, if the transaction is more than 2,50,000 rupees, that too for interstate supplies, you have to give the invoice level reporting. Right. So for B2B, all invoices, whether you supply interstate or intrastate, they have to be populated. As far as B2C is concerned, the invoice level reporting is not required. But in order to implement the destination based principles, invoice for more than 2.5 lakhs in B2C supplies need to be updated. Okay. For interstate supplies below 2.5 lakh, state-wise details is to be given. Why? To implement the destination-based taxation transaction. For intrastate B2C, consolidated figure is enough. Okay. Now, the upload can be done during the tax period. Okay. So October month return invoices can be uploaded from 1st October to 10th November. If you are late filing GSTR1, after 15th November also you can upload. Until you upload the return, means until you furnish the return, you can any number of times modify, delete the information that has been given in GSTR1. The invoices will be only in the draft form until you furnish the GSTR1 or until you submit the GSTR1. Now, is it necessary to upload the scanned copies of invoices? No, 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 no. You need not upload the scanned copies of invoices. Then what you have to do? Invoice will have certain details. Friends, we have already learned this. What are all the contents to be included in an invoice? We understood that there is no format prescribed for invoice, but certain items or fields of information which are required to be populated in the invoice, that we have already discussed and learned. So some information will be filled, prescribed information will be filled in the GSTR1. You need not scan this and upload this, but what you have to do is certain information, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 information is required to be populated in the GSTR1. Okay. Now we have a flowchart type of description about the contents of the GSTR1. Okay. Now also description of each item of invoice need not be uploaded, but only HSN code in respect of supply of goods and accounting code in respect of supply of services need to be fed. If you refer to the GSTR1 format, just Google it, what is there. Go to just search in the net for GSTR1. Just search it. So you will get a GSTR1 form, or you can go and search for GSTR format. GSTR format. Here you have form number GSTR1. Here you have. So the basic details. Basic details. GST number. What are the basic details? The basic details have been given. Like what is the GST number? What is the name of the taxable person? Aggregate turnover in the previous financial year? What is the period and year? What is the return period? Now here outward supplies to registered person means B2B. B2B supplies. what are the details that have to be given? What is the GST number of the recipient? What is the invoice number? What is the amount of IGST, CGST, SGST? What is the place of supply? And is reverse charge applicable? Now, tax on this invoice is paid under provisional assessment or not? GST number of the e-commerce operator. So these are some of the information. What is number, date, value, GST, and uh, what is the goods or service, what is the HSN, taxable value, rate amount means for this, what is the GST number, what is the invoice number, date, value, goods or services, HSN, taxable value. What is the IGST rate amount? What is the CGST rate amount? What is the SGST rate amount? What is the place of supply? Whether RC attracts, and so on and so forth. This is B2B. Then you will get amendments of invoices issued in the earlier period. Then you will get this uh, B2C large. B2C large information, so on and so forth. Just you open and you can verify or learn. So outward supplies means B2B, B2C. This if it happens to B2B, both for interstate as well as intrastate, you have to give invoice level. As far as B2C is concerned, whether it is interstate, if it is interstate, if invoices are more than 2,50,000 rupees for each invoice, invoice wise details are to be given. If it is interstate, invoices less than or equal to this, consolidated is enough. If it is intrastate, consolidated is enough. Okay. So HSN details, this we have already learned. When you have to give HSN details, if the annual turnover in the preceding year is up to 1.5 crores, no need of HSN code. From 1.5 to 5 crores, you need to give 2 HSN, first 2 digits. More than 5 crores, you have to give first 4 digits HSN code. Okay, friends, we will continue in our next session.